Today we have with us Alex Katsishin with
Beautiful.
Sales Boomerang. He is the co-founder, CEO, as well as the chief ROI booster. We have Eddie Perez, who is a co-founder and CEO of Equity Prime. And I love that he is the chief wrestler of egos. I love that. I'm going to start using that. And then last but certainly not least, we have our own Jim Park, who is a co-founder, the executive chairman, as well as the CEO of TMC. So thank you all so much for being here today. We're going to go over Equity Prime. They use Sales Boomerang and how they keep their borrowers and how their borrowers never forget them. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. This is TMC Connect. You guys have all been added on mute, but please feel free. We want this to be engaging, as we've already shown. So drop your questions in the chat. We will be reviewing those and throwing those out to our panelists as they are doing their discussion. And with that, we'll also follow up tomorrow with a video and an email. So thank you all so very much for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alex.
All right. Thank you so much, and thanks for everything, the introduction and getting everything set up and the rules to follow. Jim, Eddie, are we ready to rock and roll?
Go with it, brother.
Let's go.
I'm ready.
Let's go. Let's first start with a little bit of a market summary of what happened in 2020 and sort of what we're seeing in 2021. So let's jump right to Eddie and hear your feedback on 2020 and where you see things shifting, and then we'll get into the conversation. And what we'll do, guys, for everyone that's watching, we're actually going to make our faces what you're looking at, not the questions on screen, so everyone knows what we're talking about. Eddie, we're talking about the market, where it was, where it's going, and let's roll.
Well, I think it's safe to say that 2020 was a little bit of an anomaly. I think it was a very, very good year for everyone. But I think it was also a year, and when we're talking about what's going forward, is what did we learn from it? We learned that, yes, volume can go up, but volume can also go down. We're already seeing some of the challenges when it comes to constraint on the market. There's not enough demand. But at the same time, I think it also gives a great opportunity, not enough supply, not demand, plenty of demand.
Plenty of demand.
Plenty of demand. I think what it allows is for a conversation, because one of the things you keep hearing out there is there a bubble? It's kind of hard to have a bubble when interest rates are this low. Seems like they're going to be low for the foreseeable future. At least that's what the Fed has signaled. And as we know, the Fed's in it to win it, along with all the other Feds that are out there in different governments. So that's going to keep interest rates, if you want to call them artificially low or low. I think interest rates are going to stay low for an awfully long time, because just the shift in the world economy on how debt is structured and things of that nature. But it's hard to have a bubble when you have about essentially 3 buyers for every 1 house. I think that just means it's all going to go to payment. It's not going to be so much interest rate as in what payment can I afford, what's doable here. And obviously COVID provided a lot of that, because now it's no longer just your home. It's somewhere that you could possibly work. It's somewhere that you can enjoy time with your family and friends. I think given what happened with COVID, that you'll definitely see more and more people naturally stay a little bit away from each other than ever, because had this only lasted, say, 6 months, but we're going on 14 full months.
Yeah.
I know that some people are very optimistic that we're going to have conferences in person this year. I guess it all depends on where it's located. Is going to be the big one. I see certain states not allowing a 5,000-10,000 person conference still occur, but I think definitely the future still looks good for purchase market. There's still definitely a lot of buyers from a demographic standpoint. The average first-time home buyer is 31 to 32. Over the next 6 to 8 years, more and more 31 to 32-year-olds are going to be turning. So that automatically says that it's going to show that it's going to be a great purchase market, just because people are entering that season of their life.
It's fantastic. Jim, what are your thoughts on the market last year and going into this year?
Yeah, you know what? Number one, I missed you guys. I want to give you guys a virtual hug. It's been way too long. It's been way too long, and we are going to have Eddie, we are going to have our conference. TMC will have one in September. As you know, ours is typically a little bit more intimate and exclusive. We expect a pretty good turnout. It's going to be at a very nice resort, kind of away from everyone. So it should be, we should be, I think, COVID protocol, everything else will be followed. So I think we can all hopefully give at least a fist pump or an elbow tap to each other. So I think last year was, as Eddie said, it was an anomaly. It was a great anomaly because I think we started out the year a little nervous when the pandemic hit. I think initially we had a lot of different issues, margin calls and all that stuff going on. And so people like, what is going to happen this year? But just turned out to be one of the best years that the mortgage industry has ever experienced. Great margins on the business and so on. This year, obviously, it's already changing. People are seeing the shift already. Refi to purchase a little bit. We have built up, the industry have built up a great infrastructure, hired a lot of people to deal with this big pipeline that was, burgeoning all throughout last year. This year, we have to figure out what to do with that. So you have a lot of staff, and a lot of people have to feed that staff. And so they're going to be chasing after a lot of deals, and that's going to create potentially, it already has some level of margin compression. And so the topic that we're talking today, which is how do you create that demand? How do you go after those consumers, is so critical to the dialogue, I think, this year. I hope everyone within TMC is listening to this, because I think it's really those are the two big topics of the year. How do you get the business? And how do you manage this infrastructure people have built up in 2020? And how do you maintain it, or people have to make some drastic changes to their organization
and stay unforgettable, just like EPM stays for its clients, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's no one, no one could forget you, Alex. Come on. So, by the way, let me just say a couple of things. I know we did a quick intro. I mean, Eddie is a everyone knows Eddie in the business. He's very well recognized. You're not 40 anymore, so you're not under 40 anymore. But he used to be 40 under 40.
I'm
right?
44 now.
Yeah, you're 44. He was recognized one of the
still looks under 40 though.
Well, yeah, absolutely. In spirit and everything he does, everything. He is. Yeah, but I think you were more packed here a year ago, a couple years ago.
Yeah, I did 19 to 22 years.
Yeah, so I mean, he's sort of given to the industry in a big way. A lot of different organizations. And Alex, I remember the first time I met you wearing that "No Borrower Left Behind" shirt or whatever it was. you still got it. You said. I think
I'm gonna get it tattooed on my body, so it's just a T-shirt that never leaves.
Well, let me take that image out of my head, but but I still have that shirt, and I remember the first time we met, and you had this idea of building this company out, and you have really done an amazing job of it. And I would say within TMC currently has I think 225 members. We're growing every week, so I think it's at 225. I think 42 of our members are current clients of yours. Yes. I think it represents probably about a third of your client base. So our members are loving what you do, and I know Eddie has really taken it to another level altogether. So we're excited about this conversation today.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. So do you want to kick it off with some questions, Jim, and get into the conversation?
Well, how about a little bit of perspective from your end? I mean, I think Eddie provided some, I provided a little bit, but from someone who's sort of helping clients, like what was the market like for you this last year and coming into this year?
Yeah, so thank you. So 2020, just like, and what you said was so interesting, Jim. When we think about the margin calls in the beginning of last year, it feels like 1,000 years ago, because after those margin calls and after all of that, fear and anxiety that people were feeling, the rest of the year was so great that everyone forgets about those margin calls. I was talking to somebody 2 weeks ago, and I was like, man, what an interesting year 2020 was. Do you remember the beginning of the year? And people are like, no, it was just a great year, wasn't it? I'm like, you don't remember. Like, it was so far, it feels like 1,000 years, right? And so
I think a lot of people were one margin call away from being out of business. I mean, it was pretty scary.
It was
right?
brutal.
For a second. Yeah.
Brutal.
But then it just like went the other direction as fast as it could. And so Anyway, but I'm sure
Yeah.
your business was good last year, but it's going to be
Oh,
better this
business.
year, I think.
So here's what's interesting, Jim, right? So Sales
Yeah.
Boomerang with the ability of taking your database and letting you know when somebody's ready for a loan and giving you that opportunity in 2020, the conversation of volume was like the Heisman. Like, don't tell me about volume. I don't, I got the volume, right? And so we weren't talking about volume, and that could be scary for somebody like Sales Boomerang. However, what we found was it was a very interesting year in seeing how lenders started to look at their business for the future. It was
Mhm.
so interesting when volume was not the problem. It made people kind of go, okay, we're going to make money. So what do we do with this money? Right? And that was such a cool thing to experience that we haven't had to experience. We only, we launched in February of 2017. So we haven't got to experience a situation like this before. And so what we noticed is, especially with our partners and the organizations that we spoke to, a lot of very strategic thinking was happening in 2020. How are we going to take all of this resource, which is what money is, right? When you look at business, you look at money. Apple's got $42 billion in cash. No, that's 42 billion hammer nails they have to work with, right? It's just resources to use to build the next thing. And so I enjoyed speaking to so many different lenders that were taking all of these resources that they're gathering this year and preparing to not have a similar experience from 2007, 8, 9, right? They didn't want to relive that. And so what we saw in 2020 was a lot of organizations planning and saying, hey, we're building a mousetrap. We're building, we laugh about this Hotel California. We want our borrowers to check in, but never check out. How do we do that now that we have all these resources, right? And so that's what 2020 was a great year for us, but it was really just exciting to see the smart lenders and smart thinking you're seeing coming out of these groups to not relive what happened in 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I'm glad you used Hotel California, not Roach Motel.
No.
I don't know
Hotel
if you remember
California.
those ads from way back then. The roaches checked in, but they never checked out. So I'm glad you didn't use that. But Eddie, let's go to you and your business. You have been quite the success for a number of years. Tell us a little bit more about kind of what your business looks like right now, what your strategies are, and also just talk a little bit about how Sales Boomerang kind of fits into your strategy overall.
Yeah, I mean, we have a mixture of retail and wholesale, and both of them have experienced a good amount of growth. And what I've always said is retail and wholesale, as much as there is what I like to say false narrative out there that they're so different, at the end of the day, they're still originators. It's just what type of originator. The way I make the references is essentially like baseball. If you're out on your own, you're running your own thing. In wholesale, that's very similar to the American League, where you have a DH. It's a little bit, retail is a little bit more on the National League. Comparison is the way I used it, where you have the support systems, the marketing, the arms. You have other people that kind of take that, I don't want to say burden, but take that responsibility off your plate so you can originate. And that's the big difference between the two of them when it comes in that sense. When it comes to Sales Boomerang, we've used it in a couple of different ways. Last year with what happened during COVID, a lot of people got full blown into servicing. We were one of those that we had servicing, and we had done it on and off for years, but then every once in a while you would get too good of a price in the secondary market to sell your MSRs, and you would. Well, last year we went 100%. And since then, for the last year, we've been 100% retained, and we still are. And that's going to be a go forward basis for us. And Sales Boomerang allows us to stay not only on top of the pipeline, but stay proactive in a number of different ways. Danny, who's on the call here, is who runs our retention team and runs all that and does a phenomenal job. As much as you want to say, it's myself doing it, it's not. It's just we've empowered the people to do it. And Danny's one of them that manages it to the T. And you got to stay on top of it because, originators love to say they want the business and it's their customer and they're going to refinance it and they're going to stay ahead of it. But we all know that that's not always the case. That's why you have to have a retention team that handles a lot of that, because you will give them leads and they will forget to call. So that's one of the ways we use it on the retention team, as well as staying just proactive, as well as I think what's great, and I shared this a little bit and I can get into more detail, I just don't want to take up too much time, is we use it as a proactive tool to train, because when all your data is in there, it just triggers a lot of phone calls and leads of potential people, and it's a warm entry, and I think it's a great way to get new originators into the industry. And then if they want to build up to be more of a quote unquote street loan officer where they go out and get their own business, this will teach them great skills that they will need, especially in an environment today that is going to be a lot more consumer direct driven. Even if it's not how they do the loan, it's how they'll do at least the initial reactions, test it out. So I think it's a great training ground for new originators in a very inexpensive way.
Okay, so there's tons of benefit across the board in leveraging Sales Boomerang, sounds like for you. Did you have Sales Boomerang before you started your servicing platform, or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you did? Have you seen a material difference between pre-Sales Boomerang and post, based on your kind of retention level and all of that?
What I can tell you is, from the industry standard of retention level, ours is almost double. So it's done a extensive preparation, because like when people order payoffs or people are initially shopping, you can stay, as I would say, you're always to an extent reactive. The difference is, are you proactive reactive? Are you there 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead of time than at the finish line? So it has allowed us to retain our book better and more efficiently, because once you're servicing, that's an asset, and you want to make sure that you keep that asset and you work that asset.
There's something that, sorry, Jim, if I can jump in. I love what you just said, Eddie, and I think everyone should write it down. Somebody should probably put it into chat and so they can remember it. You want to be even reactive in your proactive process. That is so important, because you can be proactive. And somebody said this, maybe everybody's heard this analogy. If you put your ladder against the wrong wall and you climb that ladder to the top and realize you're in the wrong, who cares if you were proactive? You're in the wrong wall. So what Eddie's saying is so brilliant. Be reactive proactively, meaning you're reacting to something that's relevant to your borrower and not just randomly contacting people and hoping you can convince them to listen to you. That is so well put. Reactive, proactive. That is something that people should really, internalize for themselves.
Yeah, the thing is this: I think marketers and everyone in other industries have known this, right? Which is, if you're hungry and you see an ad for whatever, right? I don't know what you like fast food wise, Alex. Burger King. I don't know.
Take a guess. Yeah, okay.
Whatever it is, if you see that ad, you're going to react to that, right? Because that's the position you're in, and that's the same thing with borrowers. If they're in a place where they're looking to refi, and you react to that at that point in time, you're going to have a better success rate, right? Not if someone, I have no refi in the foreseeable future, I'm just like, I'm not going to react to that outreach. So I think that's a beauty of this. But I think the other thing, Alex, that Eddie said, that I think we can close out this session, right, and you'd be happy, which is, you saw a 50%, his benchmark is 50% higher than the industry benchmark. That is quite significant. I think people would go crazy over 10%, 5%, right? But 50%, that is quite significant. Alex, why don't you tell me a little bit about your business? Because I think before we get, because it's not just retention, but you do a lot of other things behind this thing. So tell us kind of sort of basic overview of the program, how you support the lender community and overall.
Yeah, and I'll take a step back to share kind of everything that we do, just to make sense of it. When we entered the market in 2017 with a beta program, the thing that we focused on was one thing and one thing only. We realized that the credit denied customers inside every lender's database were so active, they were more active than pipelines and funded deals. Meaning, if you ever turned somebody down, there was a 40% chance that in the next 12 months, that borrower was going to take action. Think about that. 40% chance that a turned down customer will go actively into the market. But when we interviewed lenders in 2016 and 2017 and asked, what do you do with your credit denied customers? They literally said, oh, that's a dead opportunity, a dead deal. That's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And so often, and then when we analyzed and found out how active they are, so when we just entered the market, all we wanted to do was take and leave no borrower behind. We wanted to take every borrower that wanted a loan and give them a chance to get a loan with the previous lender they spoke to, so that they don't have to go shopping. That was our entire mission, was just like, let's help out that borrower that got denied. But what we realized is, your databases are far more active than anyone has ever even imagined. Everyone in your database is active. Everyone has, not everyone, but a very large portion. I'll give you an example. We did a report today, and this will help people understand what we do for our partners. Is we looked at a client's database, and in 2020, and you guys may say it's 2020, so this isn't that exciting, but it is. 43% of 131,000 people living inside this one client's database, I won't mention their name, 131,000 people in this database, 43.8% of the database had a mortgage-related event in 2020. Okay, do the math. That's 55,000 opportunities. How many lenders could not just live, but thrive off of 55,000 opportunities that live inside their database? So what does Sales Boomerang do? Jim asked me to explain this to you guys. Sales Boomerang takes a look at your customer base, everyone that's in your database that's ever come in contact with you. And our mission is to make it effortless for those people to work with you again, and for them to know that you have their back by understanding what is the next best loan for them and looking out for all of the events that are happening for them within the mortgage related housing industry to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I can see we can help you today. Would you like our help? Right? So that's the reactive proactive, right? Reacting to an event that you can help with, and then being proactive about delivering that message to the customer. And that's what Sales Boomerang does, but it does it automatically, right? No login required. There's no UI to learn. We're integrating with your existing technology, so your loan officers go right to work. As Eddie said, you can take a junior loan officer and giving an active pipeline from day one, and they can, sort of sharpen their skills on existing opportunities, people in your database, people that have heard about you, people that have showed interest before. And it's not like I'm trying to sell myself and my company at the same time. I'm now just selling myself and sharing my value with you, Mr. Mrs. Customer, because you already heard of my company, right? That part is complete. And so I love how Eddie uses that for training. I think that's brilliant. But that is the power and the beauty of Sales Boomerang, is that it's your customers, and anything that's relevant to them gets delivered to you to then share with your customers. And that's really as simple as it is.
Eddie, when did you first start using Sales Boomerang? And tell me how did you hear about these guys? Aside from, Alex is all over social media with his fancy outfit, but how did you hear about him? What prompted you to
bourbon
say,
and whatever his bourbon, whatever that bourbon, whatever thing.
That's right.
Like I say, I got to give a lot of credit to my chief retail officer, Steve Carpatella. He was the one that thought of it, that said, hey, how do we leverage the data? Because, for 10 years when you're collecting, and that's kind of like what Alex said is, how do you start getting in front of the new consumer? Because there's a lot of consumers that are now moving to direct to consumer, even when it comes to a purchase. How do you build these extra relationships? As we all know, once you start giving leads out to agents, you automatically get the other leads and all that. So I think it was like 2018, if I'm right, Alex, is when we signed up, and we really kicked it into gear. And it was really anticipation, because everybody forgets this one, that they were calling Q1 of 19 like the nuclear winter, where everybody was going to go out of business. So we proactively a year earlier said, okay, how can we get in front of our book? How can we refinance? Because at that point in time, we didn't have a servicing book, or we had one that was smaller. But a lot of our customers, when we would call them back later and say, hey, interest rates have dropped, and, from 16 to 18, things like that. Have you refinanced? They said, oh, my servicer already refied me, or somebody else did. So it became one of these things that we needed to be, as we said, proactive, reactive. And that's when we entered it, was, late 18, and then 19 is when it really kicked in. And Danny, like I said, that's on the call, has done a tremendous job really leveraging it. And we did it the way where at first we would give the leads back to the originators, because originators, I love them. I'll always be an originator at heart. They said they would call the people, and then we would keep following up, and they wouldn't call them. And the customers would call back the retention team and say, hey, they're not calling me back. Can you do the refinance? But, we did that. And that's essentially when we got into it.
Yeah.
So you centralize the outreach based on the data provided by Sales Boomerang, and then you get the ball rolling, not relying on the loan officers to do the. I think that's something that I think a lot of lenders are beginning to do, right? Which is you have to respond, you have to act quickly. Right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
you can't like that.
Yeah, you can't wait a day or two to respond. You have to do it immediately. So. Alex, how are other lenders utilizing you? Are they doing something similar to what Eddie's doing?
First of all, Eddie and the EPM team, they're a very unique organization in general because one of my favorite things, and you can see Eddie doing this all over the industry and probably all over his life too. Um, Nobody at EPM just takes a solution and goes, well, I guess out of the box, it's going to do what it's going to do. Danny, and hi, Danny, by the way, I sent you hi in the chat, but I want to say hi to you this way. She is um, she's so instrumental in pushing things forward. She's constantly pushing us and our team and our data and our process. She's really doing it for her own reasons for the company, but it actually has a universal impact on everything we do for the industry. So I want to thank Danny and Eddie for creating a team environment where he's making it easy for people to challenge their partners. We're a partner for Eddie, right? And so I appreciate that. So how are other lenders doing it? Everyone has a unique approach to how they engage their customers and what reason they engage them. What Eddie has described is happening in a lot of different organizations. We do cover every sort of division. So wholesale is an incredible partnership because, and Eddie knows this, it's giving the opportunities back to the brokers and keeping them, keeping the partnership alive and healthy in the broker community. On the retail side, it's not just relationship building with customers. Retail divisions are using this to build incredible relationships with their realtor partners and their referral partners, period. Because everything you get, if you get nothing but referrals, every event that is created. Go ahead, Jim, did you have something? Oh.
No, yeah. Just a quick question.
Yeah.
You mentioned realtors, and my I'm getting old, so I can't remember stuff like.
I just need to jump in.
I gotta ask it right away.
Go.
So Eddie, I know Eddie, you have an amazing network of realtors, and you're recognized obviously within the realtor community in a big way. How are you leveraging the real estate community? Working with Alex and their team. Are you doing anything with them?
Yes, it's funny. That's not something that we've gotten to just yet. Me and Alex talked about it, but I think Alex, for everybody else, it's always about the content you want to provide.
Yes.
It's something that we're going to get to, but we've been leveraging the other side till we get more people in. But Alex, if you want to give it, I think it's something that'd be very, very valuable for everybody listening as a tool, because it's definitely something we're doing that we're going to be doing, Jim, but we're not doing it right now. So I don't want to pretend like we are. And
okay, that's
really describe it.
Well,
yeah,
listen,
because I think, and obviously people are definitely looking at, moving away from refi or, refocusing to also purchase money stuff. And obviously that's a realtor strategy. And, as I heard listening to you kind of talk about your platform, it makes a lot of sense to connect into the real estate community. And I'm assuming it's not quite there yet, but, if you can just talk about what you're doing, that'd be great.
You want to hear from Eddie what he's doing just on his side with realtors? No. Oh, from me.
No. Just from you.
Okay.
How to leverage Sales Boomerang to engage the real estate community. Yeah.
Yeah. And just real quick shout out and a tip of the hat to Eddie, the selfless way that he thinks, right? We went over that question before the call and he's like, I want to be honest with people, but he's like, I don't want to keep this information out of other people's ears. And so it's awesome that we didn't take that question out because this is exactly what we want to share with everyone. So Eddie, thank you for the selfless act there. So the way that Sales Boomerang helps the realtor community and lending community unite is really, it's as harmonious as you can describe any relationship, yin and yang, peanut butter and jelly. It really is. And here's how it works. So when you have, and let's talk about this market specifically, you have a huge demand, but a very low, there's not enough homes to actually purchase. So here's what happens. You have a realtor that has somebody that's ready to move forward. They get approved. They go to bid on the house. Somebody outbids them. Boom, their house is gone. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6 months before they're ready to take action again. Sales Boomerang keeps tabs on that customer, making sure that they're still qualified for that loan. If they do any sort of activity, right, outside of talking to the realtor and to the loan officer, Sales Boomerang will notify the loan officer, and the loan officer brings the realtor and brings them into the mix right away. So realtors and loan officers that use Sales Boomerang, loan officers are bringing their realtors into their network and they're saying, hey, everyone in your database, everyone you've spoken to, let me look out for you. Anytime there's an event, anytime there's somebody in your database that's ready for a loan, I'm going to contact you on this and we're going to work it together. Because that person that was interested 4 months ago, How do you know? All you're going to do is call and text them forever. Let's give them a better experience. Let's let our customers know that we're going to keep a distance to allow life to happen. But when they're ready, we're ready and we're there for them in lockstep. And so what happens now is realtors share their databases with lenders, and together they go after their shared databases together. Every event is given to the realtor for any purchase opportunity. And it is literally doubling realtors' business quickly. We say within 12 months, but we're seeing it more like within a quarter. You're seeing that you've done more in that quarter, twice as much than you did the previous quarter. And it's simply by getting insights on your customer base that currently doesn't happen. And so, by the way, the result of something like this is we're seeing an increase, and it's one of your members, Jim. We did a whole case study with Eustace on this. They saw an increase from their realtors. Eddie, you're going to love this because this is what we're going to be rolling out with you guys. They saw an increase in refi referrals from their purchase partners, from their realtors, 30% increase in refi referrals from their agents because they're referring more purchase to them. They're reciprocating by giving them refi opportunities. It is beautiful. Talk about harmony. And so both groups win that way. And one more last thing of why it works, Jim. There's this, and we don't need to get into the real deep psychology of this, but there is an effect where consumers, people, we all feel this, when you are in a relatable group, right? So if you talk to Eddie, who's your loan officer, you talk to Alex, who's your realtor, the second time around, you hear from Eddie and Alex again, you feel safer. You feel safer in making your decision, and that trust goes a long way in choosing who you're going to do business with. And so that's a very important thing to kind of work as a team that way.
Yeah, I think that what you described, you guys described it as peanut butter and jelly. It is a little bit of that, right? I mean, it's definitely, they go together. Cultivating that relationship with realtor community is a critical part of many retail lenders particularly, strategy. And I'm sure, Eddie, this is sort of music to your ears. I'm sure kind of this, how you can leverage this tool to enhance, support your real estate network. And so you're kind of currently looking at ways to deploy that along with all the other stuff that you're doing with the real estate community.
Yep, I think it's the next way. Like I was saying, I know that Danny and the team have used that as a way to leverage, to train new originators into it. I think this is another way to train them on the purchase side, so that, like I said, if they ever want to go, like we had done it with refinances and everything else, and the data that was already coming in, that we had built some, but not rolling it out to this degree. I think it's a great training opportunity, because I do believe when we're talking about what's going to, I think 22, 23, there's definitely going to be a culture war in this industry. When the volume normalizes, because as you said, there's these expanded ops teams. And not only that, the cost per unit went up almost $700 during this. So it's an expanded ops team that's bigger, that's also getting paid at times twice as much.
Yep.
That's going to have a day of reckoning, because even though it makes logical sense to all of us, when you talk about, hey guys, we got to get back to normal pay, it's not going to go very well. As much as everybody says, oh, everybody understands.
No,
it's not going to go well. So I think this is
LOs aren't going to take lower comps. Just
not even.
No?
I don't really think it'll be LOs, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be
the ops team, everyone.
I think it's going to be underwriting.
Everyone.
I think that one's going to be, I've seen this movie 3 times, and every time that those are, the highest in the production cycle when it comes to operationally, it's not going to go well, especially with some of the craziness that was out there, 50, 100,000 sign-on bonuses, double, triple comps. Even if it goes back to normal, and even though in their mind, they know this can't stay, they'll go somewhere else, even taking the lower pay. I think this is a great way with this tool to keep that sales training of new people going.
Yeah. So we had a question that just floated through, and I'm trying to read it as we're moving along. So what is the script that people have used to approach realtors with this kind of a value add? What do they say?
Oh my goodness, this is exciting. I love sharing this. So there's actually a very simple, and Eddie can help me with this too. So Eddie will testify, and others that are on here that are using Sales Boomerang. There's opportunities created every single day that live inside your day, every single day, a ton of them, okay? So a script can be as simple as this. If I'm a loan officer and I have, let's say, 1,000 records in the database with Eddie, and I get let's just call it 100 opportunities a month from my database. Okay. Out of those 100 opportunities, first of all, if there's a realtor attached to any opportunity, before I call, and everyone take note, originators and people who are going to be talking to the loan officers who are using Sales Boomerang, this is very important. The first person you contact personally is the realtor, not the customer. And you're like, no, you always have to contact the customer first. Well, if you can email or text them automatically through your CRM or through your marketing automation, great. But your first contact is the realtor. Remember what I said earlier. Two voices are better than one. If your realtor can contact the borrower and you can contact the borrower, they're hearing from the same voices. They're like, oh, I remember this. This is familiar. This feels comfortable, right? So that's number one. Plus, even if it's not purchased and you call the realtor and say, because you guys are asking for a script, here it is. If you're calling the realtor and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, remember Alex, we did a home for him 3 years ago. He's back in the market. Like there's something we can do for him. I just want you to know, because it could be purchased. So I want you to be prepared and maybe reach out, send him a note real quick and say hello. So right away, you're telling your realtor you're looking out for him. Okay, so put that to the side. Now you want to get new realtors. You say, hey, I have there's a bunch of people in my zip code in my area that are doing a lot of volume. How do I get them to listen to me? I keep telling them I do fast loans. I keep telling them we got great prices, great customer support. We send them gifts after they get the house. Realtors are hearing that from everyone, right? And to be honest with you, nobody cares about that. What they care about is volume, increasing.
I like gifts though.
Of course they do. Of course you do. But you'll take
They
a
won't
gift.
care. He is right about that. They will quickly forget.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's true. That's true.
But you will not forget if I take and I change your zip code of where you live because I got you an extra 10 homes this year. You will never forget me, right? Ever. If I literally change the college your kids go to, where you vacation, the kind of car you drive, right? The gifts you get for your wife or where you go for anniversary dinners, because of the volume you've increased, you'll never forget where that came from. So when you have 100 opportunities, remember the scenario, we kind of went to the side, so let me bring it back. You have 1,000 records, you produce 100 opportunities a month. You can contact any realtor with the following subject line. Take note, subject line, 100 opportunities referred last month. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, I'm looking to add one more realtor to my network. Last month, I was able to refer 100 opportunities to my realtor partners, and I'm looking to add one more realtor because of all the volume I'm giving out. Would you be interested in the conversation? You are getting a response. You are getting a response. At least, hey, how are you referring so much business to realtors? Even if it's just a question, you're getting a response. But the point is, you have all of these opportunities. If you want to grow your realtor network, you reach out to that. That's how you get a new realtor. How do you get existing realtors to send you their database? The exact same message. Hey, existing realtor partner, I've been sending out all of these opportunities. Here's how I get these opportunities from my database. You have the same database. How would you like to get all of your opportunities delivered back to you? And now you have, and here's the thing. This is where you can get selective, right? Because, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, if I send you every opportunity, I do expect you to refer everyone to me. We can't have 5% of your referrals come to me and the rest go somewhere else. This is now a partnership. I will give you everything. Everything I get, you will get. But you have to reciprocate. Everything you get, I get. And that's how we build this business, because your database, I'm going to be tracking. Why would you refer business anywhere else? I'm going to give you all of your opportunities back. And it has worked. I can't explain. This approach has worked better.
You're almost like speechless for a second, which is amazing.
Unusual.
But I think what you're describing is, right. I mean, it's a sort of this perfect ecosystem you're building out, yes, right? So everyone support each other, and that's
unity.
That's what we try to do at TMC. But I think that's what you're doing for your clients. And it's just your reflection on, obviously, this. You sort of touched on this year a little bit, but as you kind of look forward, and you obviously have multi-channel going on, which is a smart way to go about it, because the market is changing on us. So you're building out your servicing portfolio. How has Sales Boomerang kind of changed or enhanced how you look at your business strategies for the years ahead?
Well, I think it's twofold. That's another division that was created that may service, retail, wholesale, and our own servicing book. So that's an added bonus, a value add there. But like anything else, if you lose your ability to keep your ear as low as you can to the ground, you lose so much knowledge. Even if you hear about it 6 months, a quarter from now, you hear a lot. You just hear a lot. You hear, it's great for competitive analysis. because you hear what's going out in the competition. You also know if it's nationally or if it's locally or if it's in this market versus there. It's just like anything else. Anytime you get information faster, you can make that proactive, reactive decision quicker. It's at the end of the day, like I said, if you get to something a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks sooner, you get there sooner. And that's really when you talk about from the business, besides the value add to support all your channels and show that you care, you're just really getting valuable info early and often, because as Alex said, it's daily. And we have hundreds of thousands of records in there just from all the years of credit pools. That's everything you can put in there. You just get a lot of knowledge. And to what you brought up, you get additional purchase business that you might not have normally had in a virtual world. Because to now, you can connect with real estate agents like this and have relationships that's considered face-to-face, but it's just virtual.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Eddie, I think on this thing, I mean, one of the things that you're doing is this reactive, proactive. It's one way to kind of think about it, but you're controlling your destiny. You know, you're controlling your pipeline, your database. You're not just you know, a lot of times I think in this business, sometimes we just say, hey, let's go after a great high producing LO team or whatever, and we chase after that and give them whatever comp that they need to bring them in. This way, right? This way, you're actually controlling that added benefit that you have, you know, which is more business to that team, and you can retain that team. It's just, I think it's just a smart way of going about this business and not just letting someone else determine your destiny, but you're controlling it. And I think, you know, I really compliment you and applaud you for all that you've done to build your company, your organization, and really the footprint that you built. So anything else you want to share with anyone? I mean, we could talk about Alex and all his great outfits and his business, but anything else you want to sort of share with the
good questions? You know, first of all, thank you obviously for this opportunity. I'm always a big fan of paying it forward, because when you pay it forward, you're really paying homage to the people that set it up for you and then leaving it better. But I mean, maybe the audience, I think it'd be great to maybe get some questions, just anything they'd like to know, anything of that nature, I think would be very helpful.
All right, let's open it up.
Yeah.
I think people have been kind of asking questions along the way, but if there's more questions.
Yeah, I see some here. Yeah. I don't know if there are some that are previous that we could just bring up.
Tony, do you have any questions you want to throw our way based on what people have been asking?
I think we've asked them as we went. Bobby Joe, I think you may have had a question. Your hand was raised.
We tried to get her attention. She hasn't responded.
I've got a question here. I only get sales boomerang notices if someone in my client's database had their credit run.
Mm-hmm. Are they saying, what about all the other notifications? They're trying to find out what else is there?
I believe so.
All right. So that is one, and that's very important. That's what we call a defensive notification, right? Going back to sort of Eddie's analogy on sports, in baseball, there's offense and defense, right? And so with Sales Boomerang, there's also offense and defense. Mortgage inquiry is a defensive alert. It's a very important defensive alert, and it's one of those that does require instant response, because that's somebody saying, hey, I'm in the market looking for a mortgage now. Another lender pulled my credit, but you're being notified because you are the path of least resistance, so you can help them out. Another defensive alert, if you're not getting them right now, is a listing notification, right? We have a listing notification system that's proprietary to us that doesn't use MLS, but uses uses over 5,100 websites that we're piped into to get listings in real time. So when there's a listing, you get the notification tomorrow instead of waiting weeks with MLS. And again, MLS has great data, but it's just takes a while. And there's some dead zones because they're not in every area of the United States. So that's another defensive alert. There's a listing, act on it, right? And 15% of every listing is a FSBO. So make sure you act on it quickly, because you could have a great referral for your realtor there too. Now, let's talk about some of the offensive notifications. A great offensive notification and defense, it plays both, is a credit improvement notification, a notification that tells you your customer that you may have turned down has now fixed their credit and ready to go forward with the loan. Or an existing customer for servicing, right? For retention that way. An existing customer went from having an okay FICO score to having an incredible FICO score. They're into the 800s and the 750s. They're in brand new pricing ranges. And so now you can play offense and defense, right? With a credit improvement notification. Now, then there are things like, a rate alert, letting your customers know that they're qualified for one of your new low rates, an equity notification, letting you know that your customer has plenty of equity to take action with, a life event, somebody got married, divorced, had a baby, death in the family, right? Those are great to share with your realtors to work up a purchase or sale, either a sell or buy event are typically wrapped around life events. So if you're not getting those, you definitely want to look at that. Huge for purchase. And then, of course, there is the baked out loans. We call them the prescriptive loan scenarios. If you're not getting any of these, this is something you definitely want to roll out. So with prescriptive scenarios, Sales Boomerang, the SB brain, sits on top of your database and finds people that are qualified for one of your existing loan options. Not just are they qualified for credit, not just do they have a high rate, but everything. They have to check all the boxes, be completely qualified, and then you get notified. This is great for what Eddie was talking about, guys, where Eddie wants to train junior LOs to be really confident, right? Why does he want to train them? That's the biggest reason. The confidence, so that they can speak confidently to their borrowers and show confidence, and they know what they're talking about. With prescriptive scenarios, the confidence is there because you know exactly the loan you should be offering the customer. Instead of fishing for information, you're delivering a baked out loan that's ready to go, and all you're saying is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, would you like to see what this does for you, right? Or how this works for you. So since they asked, I kind of got into it. I hope that helped.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Hey, you know what? You need to drink more coffee next time because we need your energy level higher.
A little higher. All right, I'm in.
A little higher. No,
I was trying to bring it. I was trying to bring it down.
I know. Well, Tony's on, which means we're having to wrap up this conversation, which I think we could have gone a lot longer. Oh, but Eddie, I think there were a couple of last questions that were asked of you. Maybe you can just do it quickly. How did you roll it out? What was a systematic way that you rolled it out? And have you seen the performance of your LOs or lower performing LOs do better because of this tool in place?
So it was rolled out, like I said, with the retention team. And it was rolled out originally to, am I right, Alex? 3-4 people? Is that how many was on it? The retention team now in the teens.
Yep.
And that's how we built a lot off that. And
you ran a pilot and then you rolled it out fully.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how I did a pilot. And I'm sure, to Richard that asked the question, to anybody out here, Alex has been there, done there, and probably seen what everybody has done right and wrong. So I'm sure, as I always say, hire the best and get out of the way.
That's right.
And yes, conversions have gone up because they've got great leaders there that know how to train people on the phone, know how to get them to get more and more engagement, as well as anything else. They get used to it. They get better at it. It also helps feed some people that are not just doing that. They're also building their own business with realtors out there. So it's allowed them to get a little bit more confident, just a lot more practice than just prospecting to then get a customer. Now you have the customer, you kind of get rid of that prospecting piece that allows people to practice to get a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's great, Eddie.
Awesome.
So I think, unfortunately, right, Tony, I think you're on. That means we're getting kicked off. Unfortunately, we have to bring this conversation to an end. I don't get to do these things very often, and because I don't know, Tony doesn't let me do it. But I appreciate you, Alex and Eddie, for being a part of this program. It was a nice conversation. Great seeing you both.
Yes,
and we look forward to seeing you guys in person, hopefully later in the summer when we have our event. But in the meantime, keep up the great work. Keep helping those homeowners, those borrowers. It's important to engage them, support them along the way. So thank you for everything you do. Tony, anything else?
I just thank you all, and thank you to the discussion leaders. You guys are amazing. The conversation was spot on and incredible, so we appreciate your time. Thank you to everyone who joined the call today. This is TMC Connect, so please come back often. We have lots of different conversations and very quality discussion leaders just like these guys, and would love to see you join us in the future. So thank you guys
Right.
very, very much for all of your insight. And until next time, have a great day.
Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.
You guys are
Well,
great.
great seeing
Take
you,
care,
Jim. Good
guys.
seeing you. Be well.
Great seeing you, Jim, Tony, Eddie. See you later, guys.
See you guys.